time for another language lesson. Last month we had Persian, and in September we had Portuguese. And for this month, we're going to break with tradition and go with a language that does not start with the letter P. We're going to go with Romanian. So we're excited to learn something about the language of Romania. And to help us, of course, is a native speaker of Romanian. His name is Alex Bocica. He's from southern Romania. First of all, Alex, welcome to the KrakCast. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, it's nice to be back.
All right, give us. That's right. He's back because you were here about 2 years ago or so to talk about your.
Last year.
Was it last year to talk about your football club? You're you're a Renaissance man, Alex. You just know everything. Give us, for listeners, give us like the executive summary, standard introduction about what you're doing here in Krakow and what you're all about.
Well, I moved here about 10 years ago. Actually, it's going to be 10 years now in February, and just came in working for Corpos, and I'm still there, just a different one. So, yeah, not very
working
spectacular.
for Corpos.
Yeah,
the standard story, huh? All right, I got to tell you, last month when we were researching the Persian, I thought it was complicated, but Romanian is surprisingly complicated. When we talk about the origins, I kind of gave up, to be honest, because I was trying to answer a very simple question. Maybe you can give me some insights, but I was reading about this, and like I said, I gave up. I'm curious about how, like, Romanian is like, it's kind of like Hungarian in the sense it's like a language island, kind of all by itself. You know, you don't speak this, you're not in the same family as your neighbors. But the weird situation with Romania is that you do have kind of language relatives, but they're far away. It's weird. Like you're related to Italian and Spanish and French, but you're over there in that part of Europe. Any idea how that happened? How you don't have any neighbors that have a similar language background as you?
Well, it started with the Roman conquest of Dacia. That was back then, the first century. So after they settled, Latin started becoming the official language that was used, I guess, mostly in administration and stuff like that. And the natives were still speaking their own language for another 100 years or so. And then come second century, the language started mixing a little bit. So the current language was formed, I think, 6th century to 8th century. And was based on the Latin that was spoken in that region of the empire, basically, and started mixing with the native language and kind of became a separate Roman dialect specific to that part of the empire. So this is why we're a language, because it was a language island, because the language actually was formed before getting the influence from the neighbors, right? So we have Slavic influence, but that came later, maybe a couple of centuries later after the language was formed.
So Romanian is a Romance language, and of the more, let's say, familiar Romance languages, French, Spanish, Italian, which of those is easiest for you to understand, or are any of them easy to understand?
Well, I think for us it's easier to understand and learn Italian, and then Spanish, and then French, but technically the language you have most common with is French, which I think there's the biggest, 38%, 40% similarities with French in terms of grammar and everything. So yeah, I mean, it depends, but for me personally, Italian, it's pretty easy to learn and understand. I learned it watching TV, so.
But for a typical Romanian native speaker, you listen to Italian and you can get more or less what's going on.
Yeah, you can get into that conversation. Not necessarily speak the first time around, but you can definitely understand what's being discussed.
Okay, so you're familiar with the number of languages. Obviously, you speak English really well. If as objectively as you can, when you look at Romanian as a language, the vocabulary, the grammar, etc., how would you rate it on a difficulty scale for a learner?
Well, it depends where you come from, right? Because if you're Italian or Spanish, might come easier, but is not the most easier. I mean, it's not like Polish, super difficult, or we don't have a lot of consonants stuck together, but it's not that easy. But I guess for Italians and for Spanish, if you're a Spanish speaker, comes easier. But if you're, speaking some Slavic language, it's more difficult than you'd think.
Really? So it's not like Spanish, where it's fairly easy, straightforward. Italian, I think, is also fairly easy. Romanian, got some things that make it more complicated.
Yeah, we have, because of the later influence, the modern Romanian language has become a bit more complicated for Latin-based languages. but it's still complicated for Slavic languages as well. So it's kind of in between, really. It depends how passionate you are about languages.
Romania, not a huge country, but by European standards, it's big enough, right?
Yeah.
Big enough to have regional variations. Take us through some of the main kind of dialects and regional variations of Romanian.
Well, I mean, overall, there's 25 million speakers in about 10 countries, I think. 18 or 19 million are in Romania, obviously the biggest portion of them. And then in the Republic of Moldova, our neighbor, we have another, officially 2.5 million. But I know that not everyone speaks Romanian there, but it is the official language. And in terms of dialects, we have the Romano-Dacian dialect, I don't know how to call it, which is like the basic Romanian, which is the one that's spoken widely. And then the second biggest dialect would be the Aromanian or Macedonian, which has about 500,000 speakers in Romania and in the Balkans. And then we have two minor ones that altogether have 5, 6, 7,000 speakers.
So if you hear someone speak a few sentences of Romanian, can you place them on the map, more or less, where they're from?
Yeah, it's Romania pretty much. Because
like where in Romania? I mean,
yeah, definitely. Because the main dialect has also its sub-dialects that depend on the region. So we have three main ones, which is Moldavia, the geographic and historical region, not the country. And then we have the southern part, Muntenia, where I'm from, which is kind of the closest to the old language. And then we have Transylvania, which is influenced obviously by Hungarian and other languages coming from the West. And each of them also have sub-dialects depending on the smaller region where you're from. But yeah, you can pretty much place in these three main groups. And then if you're used to the language, you can even go and place to the specific city or town or township.
Is there any kind of like English style snobbery when it comes to, which ones are perceived to be better or inferior to others?
No, not really. I mean, they feel like that depending on the region, but it's nothing in the language that gives that away. It's more of, if you're from the western part, you feel a bit more, that kind of the posh attitude because you're from the western side, but it's nothing that...
Is that the better side, so to speak?
So they say.
Allegedly,
yeah.
Because why? Let me see the West. Why would the western side be better?
Because, the West as a thing, it's the better part, rather, as opposed to the East. Where
isn't the capital in the eastern
It's in
part?
the southern part where I'm from. So we are actually the best, but...
Duh, everybody does that. Even a country like Romania, everybody has this stuff.
Yeah, everybody, definitely.
Looking at your alphabet, you've got I'm kind of lost. As someone who believes there should be one A in every alphabet, I always have this. Why do you need three A's?
You're not the only one there. A lot of Romanians get confused with that as well. The short answer is I don't know. It's just because the guys at the language academy need to do something. Because prior to the...
Do something.
Yeah.
Fix this.
Yeah. We had...
Wage thieves.
Printing press need money as well, all those extra letters.
Yeah, pretty much. Because we have one of the three just showed up in early 90s, I don't know, 1991. And they said, yeah, it's...
Wait. 30 years ago, somebody said, hey, I just discovered a new A.
Not quite. They said, okay... we have this sound that we have a letter for. Now we're going to have another letter for the same sound. And we're just going to make things more complicated. Because you're going to use this specific letter inside the words. But if you're using it at the beginning of the word, it's going to be the old one that you already have. But it will still be the same sound.
I hope they strip this person of his citizenship.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I went through school in Romania.
What the hell?
So, yeah.
All right, so there's three A's. You've got two I's. What's up with that?
Yeah, so one of the I's was the original letter for the sound we have, which is I. Yeah, it sounds weird, but we had the one of the I's with the housing roof. I don't know how to call that. That was the original letter we had for this sound, and then they came up with the one A, the third A, that's basically the same sound. The other two A's are for completely different sounds. So we have A, which is A, and the other with the small thing, which is E. So it's slightly different, and it's like in Polish where you have the E and the E with the thing below. It's basically a different sound.
You got two S's, which I can kind of relate to because Polish has two S's. But you also have two T's, which I don't get at all.
Same thing, different sounds. So
what are the two T sounds?
T is T, which is more, it's heavily, it sounds like it is a consonant. And the other one, it's similar to the Polish C, which is C. But not every time, because in Polish,
of course not.
In Polish, we have the C that kind of, depending where it is in the word,
it's like a TS sound, and like it's.
But this one in Romanian is C, and it's specific. Like when you say country in Romanian, starts with this one, and it's țară. So see, it's kind of like sounds like țar, like a TS or TZ. That's kind of the sound that represents.
So would you say, when it comes to pronunciation, is Romanian kind of like Polish, where even if it's intimidating at the beginning, once you get the hold of it, there's basically a fixed relationship between the letter and the sound that it makes? Or is it like English, where it's like a lottery every time it's completely different every time the letter comes out?
Of both, actually, because we have that. So we have these specific letters that are assigned to specific sounds, but we also have groups of letters that make different sound.
Is that a diphthong? Is that what a diphthong is? A group of letters?
It's like in French, like in French, you've got groups of letters that make certain sounds.
What's a diphthong?
Diphthong is a double sound. It's a double vowel, actually. So you might have a and e, and that would be... No, that would be...
That's Gabby, by the way. She's here too.
Hello. You might have e, you might have the vowel e and and together that makes ear.
Okay.
So it's just two vowels together. That's a diphthong. But if you've got a group of three letters, it might be something like in French, like you've got the word for you, vous, but O-U-S. So the oo sound is written in French O-U-S. So that's a Romance.
I forgot to ask earlier, Alex, coming from the Romance language family, does this mean Romanian has genders?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so all the usual things that Romance languages have genders.
Yeah.
No cases like Slavic languages.
We do also have cases.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was saying, if it's from...
Wait a second.
If it's from Romanian, like from Rome, Latin had loads of cases.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So you got the worst of both worlds.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend school in Romania.
So how many cases do we have? Do you know?
5, I think.
Polish have 6? Is that
6, I believe.
6? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So all those little things that make it hard
we have the genders, we have the cases, we have everything.
And formal third person
as
well? Okay, so making it work.
We have the formal and one that is kind of in between. And we have some...
Wait, you have an in between, like I kind of know you?
Yeah,
kind of
like that. Yeah.
What? Can you give us an example of when you'd use the in between formality?
Well, it's for example, you can use it with someone that's older than you, but you're familiar with. So it's, I don't know, an uncle or...
This is like Japanese level.
Your long lost dirty
I know
uncle.
you, but you're older than me. I kind of know you.
Mother-in-law. Kind of like that. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's middle formality.
Yeah.
Not like super formal, like you're talking to God.
I don't know if officially it's called like a middle formality, but this is
basically what it is. Before we move into specific phrases and whatnot, anything else you want to say about the general language, little things about the language that make it interesting or unique or difficult or anything like that?
Well, this thing that we have, like you said, the worst of both worlds, because we have the cases, we have the genders, we have the specific letters for the specific sounds, but then we also have the groups of 2 letters or 3 letters that are making a different sound. So that can be a little bit tricky if you're trying to learn Romanian. And this is why you can almost always see if someone speaks Romanian, you can almost always tell he's not a native speaker. Doesn't matter how good he speaks or she speaks, you can tell from these kind of things that he's not it's not a native.
The details, the little details. All right, let's go through the basics here. Give us the basics. You meet somebody, the good morning, how are you, what's your name, my name is, this kind of stuff.
Okay. This is a thing that, again, it's a level of formality. So if you go in a place where you don't know anyone. You go there in the morning, you kind of say the whole sentence, which is Bună dimineața. That literally means good morning.
Sounds like Italian, doesn't it? Yeah. How many words was that?
2 words. Bună means good, and dimineața means morning.
So good morning. Okay, all right.
But then if it's very informal, you just say nața, which is half of one of the words.
Like in English, when you just go morning.
Yeah, exactly like that. It's good morning and morning. So we have this. You can just say hey. You actually say hey. We have
Hey.
Yeah.
Like to your friends, obviously.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Not your mother-in-law, I guess. So
Well, depends how close you are.
The middle formality. Okay, so good morning. Take us through good night, good afternoon.
Yeah, so we have this that it's on different. We say bună a lot, which just literally means good, and you can say that as a greeting or farewell, but it's mostly informal, so you don't really go to a meeting and say bună. I mean, it's pretty much like hi, but it just means good, and it's from all of them because good morning, it's bună dimineața, and then you have good afternoon, which is bună ziua, ziua meaning day, and you have good evening, which is bună seara. And yeah, that's a greeting. But then you also have good night, which is noapte bună. It's just switching the place of the
Good
word.
night, like a goodbye.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
Okay. What's your name? My name is. Nice to meet you.
Again, there's different ways of telling that.
Of course
depending
there's
on
different
how
ways.
familiar you're with the person. But the most formal
Well, if
one.
you don't know their name, you must not be very familiar with them, right?
Well, I mean, I've been to parties.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, if you're introducing yourself, you're saying my name is, you can say numele meu este, which is literally my name is, or mă numesc, which is I think the most commonly used, meaning I'm called.
Okay.
Everybody calls me. Mă numesc.
Mă numesc.
Yeah.
Mă numesc.
And then,
Okay.
Yeah. So this is about introduction, or you can easily say I'm Alex, sunt Alex, or eu sunt Alex. But again, this is very informal. You don't go to a meeting saying that. So it's on different levels, and basically everything is translated one to one with English greetings. If you think about it, because you can say what's your name, cum te cheamă. Or you can say you are, tu. Tu means just you. Basically, you're saying my name is, how about you? So I'm Alex, what about you? Sunt Alex, tu? Which is just saying you, basically.
I think the Gabby, Josh, I don't know what you guys think, but I think the more we hear of Romanian, I think the more you can forgive someone who has no idea, forgive someone for thinking that it is Italian. Really, it's so close to the untrained ear, isn't it?
I suspect, actually. I mean, I think to the words, yes. I mean, the big difference, of course, is that is the lack of that characteristic Italian sort of rhythmic, melodic kind of
We can't see you using your hands either, so
That's an
part of
Italian
it.
thing. No, I guess this is the Slavic influence where we have, I guess, more or less melodic language. But I got Portuguese a lot, actually, from what languages are Portuguese.
Also, yeah.
Which is, I think, actually, from all these languages, Portuguese is the furthest away from Romanian. This is how I hear it. But yeah, I guess there's similarities. I mean, I can understand a little bit of Portuguese as well.
But I kind of sympathize with people who, listening to you speak or listening to a Romanian speaker, they can get the family, but Romanian is kind of off the radar for most people. It's not an option. They're not thinking about, maybe it's Romanian. They're thinking, is it Italian? Is it Portuguese? And Romanian doesn't really come into the mix for them. But I can understand that.
You go straight to the Mediterranean.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You hear that, and is it Portuguese? Is it Italian? Maybe as far as Greece.
Yeah.
But yeah, because we're an island between all the Slavic languages, kind of feels off.
Let's back up for a second. I forgot to ask you, can you go through the alphabet for us, please?
Okay.
With your 3 A's.
Okay, so the 3 A's are A, E, U, B, K, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, Ș, T, Ț, U, V, W, X, Y, Z.
Okay, I have immediate observation. You know, like in the English alphabet, there are lots of letters that basically rhyme with E. You know, B, C, D, G, T,
Iced tea. Yeah.
P, and in your country, Z.
Duh. Way it should be.
And listening to you say those, it's like the characteristic vowel sound is oo, isn't it? Lots of letters.
That's actually, it's U. It's
Oh, okay. Yeah, of course I was going to get it wrong.
very similar, but the thing is, you have U as a letter, which is U,
Right.
and it's a vowel, but you also have U as a letter, and that's a consonant. So the letters, they kind of sound like the consonant, and those B, K, B, C, they're consonants, or leaning towards the U sound.
Yeah, okay, I can see the difference.
The vowels we have, it's A, E, O, U, E.
It's interesting because I think when you say the alphabet in particular, and English is a good example. If you're saying consonants, you need a vowel at the end to be able to make the consonant understandable. Because otherwise, you just be going or like that. So you need the vowel in order to be able
Gabby's
to.
beatboxing.
Yeah. So instead of it's M, right? Because you need the vowel to carry the consonant.
Alex, sorry.
So I was just going to
Gabby.
say, it's interesting the vowel that you add to the end of the consonant when you're pronouncing it. Can you tell me about, because it's interesting to me because it sounds very much like the English schwa. That's the sound in the or ya or whatever. So how does the stressing work in Romanian? Is it more like English where you have a stress timed?
Yeah, it's very stressful.
like a stress time, like unstressed and stressed vowels, or is it more like Italian where everything has like a set da 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 da?
Yeah, I think it's rather close to Italian, but it's also a regional thing. So it depends on where you're from and the accent and the dialect. So it's kind of a little bit of both, really. But normally it's not like English in that sense. But yeah, it depends on.
Did you say the letter Y was Y?
Yeah.
Because it's the same in Polish, right?
Yeah, literally means.
And French.
Yeah, there's a Latin root there at work, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
literally means I from Greece.
Okay. Let's go to numbers now. Can you count from 1 to 10 for us, please?
Okay.
Concentrate.
I didn't really study for the
Concentrate.
test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay, so I can hear the Latin roots there again, except for what was 10 again?
10.
Sounds a little bit different. So how do you spell it? Because it started with the letter D.
Starts with a Z.
Oh, Z. Oh, that's
Yeah.
different. The Latin it would start with a D.
Z,
Deca,
E, C, E.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
all right.
we also have, like, when we say decimals, we say decimale, which comes from Latin. And we have the word starting with D, but the number itself starts with a Z.
Let's talk about borrowed words. You mentioned earlier there's a Slavic influence. Obviously, that's the neighborhood. I imagine there's a strong English influence from pop culture and the internet culture and things like this. I'm curious, is there a Turkish influence at all?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's. I was talking earlier about percentages. I think about 3 to 4% of the words are from Turkish origin. Obviously, because of the whole Ottoman Empire thing, and we borrowed a lot. We actually have words that are spelled pretty much the same as they still are in Turkish. So yeah.
How about Russian? Not so much.
Not so much. Yeah, we have a few words that are borrowed. I think mostly in I don't know, 50s to the 80s kind of period, just because of the Russian influence that we were having and Russian being taught in school and whatnot. But in the language overall, I don't think we have that much influence from the Russians as we have from Turkey, for example.
All right, let's get to the bad words. Everybody's favorite part. Before we dive into details here, would you say that Romanian is kind of a rich, colorful language when it comes to cursing and swearing?
Definitely.
Really?
Definitely, yeah.
I love colourful cursing.
All right,
We are
so
very, very... we have loads.
last month when we were talking about Persian, we agreed that in most languages, it's a weird combination of anatomy, physical processes, and the sacred. The religious-oriented things.
Yeah.
Is Romanian basically conforming to the standard?
Like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Those are like the three big pieces, but we're very creative with it.
All right.
So
where do you want to start?
There's a lot that goes into a lot of things, basically. So
Take us away. Be our guide through Romanian profanity, wherever you want to go.
we have basically our word for penis, which is like the Polish kurwa, that we use it everywhere. So it's good, bad, not so good. It's an exclamation point.
So it's not, in Polish it's whore basically. And
Yeah.
So your equivalent of the Polish kurwa, the English fuck, is the word for penis.
Yeah.
It's always penis, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's always
And you can say it like
some psychology at work there. I don't know what it is, but
you can use it in a context where it means something good. For example,
Like the actual penis.
yeah, yeah.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good.
So it's a compliment to say that something is penis.
Well,
Not always, mate.
you can actually use
Happiness.
you can actually use it as a greeting, but
As a greeting. Jesus, I love this language. Go ahead.
It's very, very, very informal, and I need to stress this. You
Yeah, I
don't-
kind of guessed that part, Alex.
Don't say it's your mother-in-law, right?
All right, cock.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. You say, "Ce faci pulă?" It's like, how are you cock?
All right. And you can compliment. So let's say I create something, I make a painting or something, and you want to say it's really good. You can
No,
describe
actually,
it as
when you
penis.
say about the painting,
Or something.
you say, that's not bad. You say "e ca pula" means like it's like the cock. So it's yeah.
Okay, so cock is the kind of defining universal, again, equivalent of
basically,
Polish
we
whore.
use it for a lot
English.
of
All
things,
right,
yeah.
so that's anatomy. Where else do you want to go? Like common, son of a bitch, fuck
we
you, shit,
have,
piss, motherfucker, so on, so on.
We're basically sticking it everywhere when it comes to
Sticking what everywhere?
the Romanian penis.
Okay.
You can't escape it.
Yeah. So, and that goes into everything. Like, there was actually a bit of stand-up some years ago that you shouldn't be sticking it in your appliances if they don't work. That's kind of... But yeah, if the mixer doesn't work, you just stick it in it. And yeah. And if something doesn't go your way, you just stick it in there. And you say like, I'm going to be late again, some bug puller. So it's the same, this is universal. And then we go about religion, the sacred, and we just stick it in everything, depending on how upset you are.
So the degrees, basically. Okay.
Halfway in.
Do animals ever get involved?
Not as much, no.
Where are you going with this, Gabby?
I'm just wondering, because in Hungary, animals feature a lot in swearing. But this is the Romanian show. I was just wondering if there were
all
any...
right.
Vegetables, though.
But what?
So penises and vegetables.
Yeah. We are actually fucking the mother's onion, which is kind of... is not that bad. You kind of use it with friends when they do a little something that annoys you, but you're not really upset.
So I fuck your mother's onion.
Yeah, it's kind of...
Is the onion understood to be a metaphor for something, or are we talking about an onion?
I guess it's something that makes you cry in the end. So.
Something you put on a hamburger, basically.
Brings
Okay.
tears to your eyes.
I fuck your mother's onion. That's a good one. That's a good one.
That is basically, I don't know, if you spill a beer or something that is not that much upsetting as, breaking.
It's just a general exclamation of frustration.
Yeah.
Let's say.
Yeah,
I fuck your mother's onion.
Yeah.
I like that one. I keep that one. All right, take us through, fuck off, fuck you, son of a bitch, god damn it.
Yeah, this is where animals sort of come into play.
There are animals then.
Well, sort of, because you use the same word when you say to someone, fuck off, you kind of use the same word that you use for dogs when you want them to leave, which is marș. And if you want to really emphasize it, you go marș în pula mea, which means...
Dick.
Yeah.
So I'm getting the feeling that the word for penis basically turns anything into a profane phrase.
I mean, and it can be used as a punctuation.
We do the
mark
same
as
thing
well,
in Polish. You say there's one sentence and then add kurwa at the end, and it's the same idea, I guess. Okay. All right, fair enough.
It's also when something... I think it's basically being efficient in communicating, because you can have a lot of words that goes into this one. But because if you say, how's your day? And, it's not so bad, but it's not that good either. So we could talk about it, but I don't really want to talk about it. But if you ask me, I'm going to tell you about it. And you just say, hey, capul. Which means, it's like a dick. So
I see a theme here. In our previous conversations about Persian and Portuguese, we kind of established that the phrase "son of a bitch" seems to be universal. There's some universal disgust at the son of a prostitute. I'm assuming Romanian has your own equivalent. What is the equivalent of "son of a bitch"?
It has a dick, probably.
Yeah, with or her onion or whatever it is.
Actually, we don't use that much.
Ooh,
and
interesting.
Instead of this, we kind of have cocksucker, which again goes back to our theme, I guess.
There's nothing about the son of a whore or a child of a whore.
Not so much. I mean,
interesting.
It's a wider composition and you kind of really have to go into details and be really, really upset. But we don't really. I mean, we do stuff to the mother, but
always
not to you as the son of the mother.
And her onion.
Yeah, and her onions.
Obviously.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I don't know where to go after that.
We don't really have the son of a bitch thing. Yeah, no.
It's interesting that putting your cock into places, putting your penis into places is something to do, but should someone suck it, that's a very bad thing.
Well,
then you're a bad person.
Explain.
I put it there.
Explain yourself, Alex.
But now you've touched it with your mouth, you're bad.
It's a strange language, and we don't really have an explanation for that. And
but isn't it? Sorry to interrupt, Alex. This is Gabby. I think we're taking it on like an academic path now. Isn't the implication something to do with the implication is something to do with homosexuality? I think, and calling someone a homosexual. I think that's what it's. That's the idea.
No, because there's also the feminine of the word, so I don't think so.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Now
you brought that up. Is penis a feminine or masculine word in French?
It's
Romanian.
Feminine.
Because it's the same in French.
Bizarre.
And cunt in French is masculine. Is it the same in Romanian?
No, it's still feminine.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, where do we go now?
A little silence there, just let that little C-bomb float.
Take a drink.
It was an interesting theory, but it's not. I don't think that's the point, because we have the same word for feminine, which is adding that O at the end, right? So it's not about homosexuality.
We also, in previous conversations, we also used an example of like in English we say shit, as a frustration. Yeah. Whereas in Polish, it doesn't work. Polish doesn't say shit.
Cholera.
They just say cholera, like damn it.
But that's like diarrhea, isn't it?
Doesn't work. in Romanian, do you say shit as an exclamation of
we do
frustration?
So it's kind of, again, it's on levels, right? So when you're not that upset, we just have a word for the devil, which is like not really cursing, but it's kind of, it's allowed to say.
Like, damn it.
Yeah, something like that.
Bother.
Yeah. You have la naiba, which means damn it. And then the next level is dracu, which is the actual bad word for the devil.
Dracul. Ooh, there's another conversation there.
Which actually the kids are not really allowed to say.
Oh.
And then it's shit is the next word. And then we go back to the penis.
So I didn't want to go too far down this because, people think Romania, people think about Transylvanian vampires and Dracula. But since you mentioned it, when you hear people from outside of Romania say Dracula, I don't know what you call him in Romania, is that
Dracula? It's pretty similar.
Okay, there you go. Does that mean it's an obscene term? If Dracula is a bad word, is Dracula a bad word?
No, not really, because it's actually... it's a proper noun, first of all. So it's not...
Like someone's name.
Yeah. It's something... Because Dracu means the devil. So it's a common word for the devil. Whereas Dracula, it's a name, which means the son of the devil.
All right.
That's where it comes from. In Old Romanian was actually the correct pronunciation in Old Romanian was Dracula, which meant literally the son of the devil. And because Vlad Țepeș's father, Vlad Țepeș being the inspiration for Dracula, I guess, and his father was a knight of the Draco order, which means the order of the dragon. But in Romanian, the dragon and the devil had the same word. So this is where it comes from. It was the son of the dragon or of the devil.
Very satisfactory explanation.
Nice. Let's go back to curse words.
Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't hear any references to, we talked about anatomy, bodily processes, and the sacred.
Yeah.
I didn't hear a god damn it, a holy shit, anything like that. Some religious references in Romanian cursing?
Well, we don't really, we do have that. But again, it goes to the mother again. Because there's but I think.
Always the mother.
Yeah.
And their onions.
What was it when we were talking about Persian, Josh, where it was, what did Daniel say? I fuck your mother's, I've forgotten it already. It
did sound like one of those Monty Python kind of thing, may the fleas of 1,000 donkeys infest your
something like that.
intimate regions.
It was a great one, though. So what do you say in Romanian then? Sorry.
The one with the god, we have actually fucking your mother's gods, plural, not gods.
Whoa.
But it's kind of older, for older people, I would say. This one, it's not really
too much for younger
those with
people.
stronger stomachs.
Actually, it's not one of the strongest, but it's just not being widely used for a couple of generations now, I guess.
Old-fashioned.
Yeah.
Gods, pagans. Calling them a pagan, basically, is terrible.
Yeah, basically the religious and the religious symbols are more for the older generation because we have the gods and then we have the symbolism, the crosses, the tombs. We have a very popular one, which is the dead relatives of the mother. It's one of the most
and
common.
their onions too.
Yeah,
I'm still stuck on the onion thing.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, actually, the onion thing is the least vulgar of the dead relatives.
Whoa! There's a higher degree.
Yeah, the one with the dead relatives.
What other vegetables are we talking about here? Or is it?
Well, it goes from onion to dead relatives, so it's pretty fast. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we don't go other places in the garden. So
onion,
okay.
Potatoes, and then no straight.
But presumably no garlic.
Definitely we don't.
Alex, as we wind down here, let's leave the bad words behind us here. You mentioned earlier that sometimes, maybe often, people mistake Romanian for Portuguese. You get this from time to time, I guess, yeah? Yep. I just checked. Romanian has about 25, 26 million speakers, the vast majority of whom are, of course, in Romania and Moldova. Do you find Romanian to be kind of the useful secret language when you're outside of Romania? Because people can't quite, tune in.
Funnily enough, not really, because it happens that all the time you bump into someone from Romania and you really? Try to use those words as a secret language, and you end up with a neighbor from the table next to you being mad that you throw the whole dinner because you call her a fucking fat cow.
Talking about her onions and stuff like that.
It happened to me. That
busted, really?
Yeah. And it was literally my first time outside of Romania.
You called somebody a fat cow and they understood.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And
would you like to apologize to them?
No, not really, because she was being a fat fucking cow. But
but it's a good lesson. You have to be careful. You never know.
Yeah, definitely.
You never know.
In general, that's a good secret language, but you just need to be careful where you use it. So if you go to new random places, I'd look around first. But normally, yeah. And it was something that I got the other day. We were at a restaurant with the guys from the football team, and me and my wife were actually speaking between ourselves in what we call Romglish, because we just switch from Romanian to English and back casually, and we actually do that at home as well. And a lot of let's say younger people do that. They just combine English with Romanian all the time. So yeah, it is a good skill when you want to be a bit sneaky, but I'd be careful where you
never know where the fat cow is sitting. Yeah, maybe right next to you. You never know.
But I mean, could you, for example, if you're sitting in a restaurant and then you just kind of, you pick up an onion with your fork and you just kind of wave it around provocatively, is that going to get all the Romanians in the restaurant?
Well, only if the mother's present, I guess.
Yes, of course.
We're going to be stuck on that for weeks, I can tell. Alex Bocica, Romanian native speaker, thanks very much for joining us, and giving us a few insights into the world of your language. We appreciate it. And we hope you'll come back sometime and talk about the football team or one of the
show us the trophy when you collect it.
You're doing well this year. So anyway, thanks again for joining us, Alex. We appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely loved it. See you again next time.